Yesterday we went through the exterior design, showed you a lot of stuff on aerodynamics, things like that, and we really look for the exterior. Really look for the exterior to go back a slide. Sorry. Really look for the exterior to draw you in. You know, this is where we're trying to get your attention with the exterior design, but it's really the interior design that we look to seal the deal, and that we spend a lot of focused attention, a lot of design effort goes into the interior. If I had to score between the exterior and interior, as far as the number of releases, the number of components, the interior probably has 3 times the components that the exterior does. So I got Brian Stoekel here, and then from the interior design team, and he's actually going to take us through this. Before we get into that, I just wanted to offer up congratulations to Tom Peters. He's been our design director for the Performance Studio for the last 20 years. He's our Hall of Fame inductee tonight. And so if you see him, please congratulate him. This is some of the team here that oversees the car. You have John Cafaro there, Hall of Fame inductee as well. And that we spent a lot of time outside looking at the car. It gives us a chance to see it from that block away. Our viewing patio is the size of a football field, and that we're out there in all kinds of weather. A lot of discussions, a lot of design decisions here, and that, but all good. You can kind of see senior leadership there, Taj is there. A lot of time discussing what's next for the car. And then for here, you know, this is one of our prize photos. You can see some of the influence. You know, we talk about being jet fighter inspired. You know, it kind of gets into the stance of the vehicle, the high tail, low nose, cab forward, and it does have some inspiration there. So I'll let Brian take you through the interior.
Thanks, Kurt. So what we'd like to do today, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you saw Kurt's presentation yesterday going through the design process, so I'd like to show everybody kind of the same story for the interior. You'll notice a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of things that are similar. So just like with the exterior, you know, on the Corvette team, we respect our heritage a lot. One of the great challenges from our head of design, Ed Woburn, was this interior that we come up with has to look and feel like a Corvette. We wanted to make something that still feels new and exotic and brings Corvette into a new generation, but it still has to feel familiar, it has to feel like a Corvette, and it's got to be unmistakable. So these are some of the early design sketches. We always start in 2D, you know, some combination of digital drawing and pen and paper. We have a team of about 4 or 5 designers that were sketching different themes going through here. You know, you can see in some of the sketches, you know, everybody's excited about, you know, this is the first mid-engine Corvette, so we're bringing that into our sketches. We're starting to look at different ways that we can tie in some of the design features from the engine compartment, bring that through and forward into the interior. And then here you can see, these are some of the first sketches from Tristan Murphy, the lead designer, and you can see the very beginnings of kind of the cockpit shape coming together. You can see how the forms in the engine bay are kind of feeding in through the waterfall and up and toward the center. You can see the cockpit shape starting to take form here around the steering wheel and the driver's area. And then this is basically the kind of the final theme sketch that Tristan did. So what you can see here is the adrenaline red accents in the cockpit area. The screen tilted toward the driver. We wanted to make a very driver-focused environment, but also still have a really nice space for the passenger to enjoy too. From after the sketches, we move forward into clay model, and it's really important for us as part of the design process to be able to see and quickly modify and model and test out different design solutions. So clay is a really great tool for us to do that. We can change it very fast. We can work back and forth. We have a bug in the studio where we actually have physical seats from a C7, and we can kind of cube it up together, push the seats in there, sit in it, see how it feels, and just kind of double check our assumptions on things, and pull the seats back and start working on it again. We can do that, probably within inside half an hour. Here's a couple shots in the design team sitting in the car. In the studio here, we even milled in headers so we can check out how it feels to be. It really does feel like you're sitting inside a car, except that it's all clay colored. And then after we go through the clay model, another big part of the project is creating hard models, and so we actually create a wrap model. These are all foam parts painted in primer right now, and we wrap these parts in leather, and that way we can show senior leadership within the company and kind of sell the vision for what we want Corvette to be. So here's a couple shots of that foam model. You can see the Stingray in the back there. Another huge part about the C8 interior is the new seats. We have a 3-seat strategy, and Harlan's going to talk a little bit more about that. But Nathan Dressman, who's the seat designer, you can see him here. We wanted to have the base seat, which gives you your value, the GT2 seat, which gives you a lot more luxury, great for grand touring, and then also the competition seat, which is just even more building on today's competition seat with these nice aggressive bolsters to hold you in place during hard cornering. Another great improvement for the C8 is the steering wheel. We're very inspired by looking at race cars, looking at things that were out in kind of the gaming market. And we're looking at the digital screens. That we have on the C8, we have the 12-inch digital cluster. And one of the great things one of the things we found when we were sitting in the car with the round wheel is that the round was kind of clipping off the top corners of the instrument cluster. So we opened up those clusters, kind of flattened the top. Oh, sure. So we flattened out the corners of the cluster. We flattened out the corners of the wheel to allow us better vision of the cluster, and then we also dropped the top, which allows you a little bit better down vision that Tad was talking about a couple minutes ago. And then bringing up the bottom also gives you much better access getting in and out of the car, so you're not banging your knees on the steering wheel. So here you can see kind of the final production wheel with the Z mode button that Sang did. And then here's some more detailed shots on the car. One of the things that we really wanted to focus on with the interior for the C8 is really getting a huge level of quality and craftsmanship into every detail. So you can see the different layering that's going on with the cockpits, the various different genuine materials building up, this real leather, suede, perforated metal, and stitched leather. So everything that you touch when you sit in the C8 is going to be real wrapped goods, real aluminum, real carbon fiber. Another innovation that we had here was Corvettes have always had a bass speaker in the door, but in the past what we've done is use a plastic speaker grill, which means you have a big piece of plastic beside your knee. We wanted to see how we could improve on that for the C8. So what we were able to do, working with our engineering team and the team at Bose, is port the sound out through the bottom of the door. So we have these vents on the front, and what that allows us to do is get the bass sound that we need, but also be able to have these nice soft wrap parts right where your leg is. So that's a huge improvement. And then you can also see, speaking of the speakers, this is a nice shot of the stainless steel speaker grill that's on the waterfall, and you can see the cross flag logo in there. That's kind of a nice tie back to the way we've done the waterfall in the previous cars. And here's the same shot of the speaker grill in the door. You can see the real carbon fiber, real aluminum on the console. It's just some nice craftsmanship shots showing the interior. And here's just kind of this shot just kind of sold everything for us. Is just looking at the driver cockpit area and how exciting this thing's going to be to drive. And we really want that feel of when you sit in this car, you're going to be excited. It's a really exotic environment. And then here's just the whole team that worked on it. So it's at the end of the day, designing car is especially like the Corvette. It's super fun, but it's all about the people, and these are the people that made it happen. So.
So just like on the exterior, we work hand in hand with the interior folks. It's such a highly integrated machine, everything has to go together. So all the things you're doing on the exterior have to work on the interior. So we really, really wanted, I was talking about the down vision, and we wanted to really engineer every millimeter of that out of the height of the cowl. So we knew that we had the exterior, Kirk pushing the hood down as low as possible, but the interior to follow that was a really big challenge. And so we had to work behind the scenes, like under the skin, to compress everything as much as possible. One of the things we had to do was actually invent a new technology on the HVAC outlets So they're the thinnest in the industry, really the thinnest that have ever been done. And if you look at them, it doesn't look like there's any veins in it, but it's amazing how well they work. It's actually based on a new principle of aeroflow and the way we set up the car and the air coming out there. So I can really appreciate that as a way to get everything down. And I wanted to, go backwards here. I also wanted to point out this feature right here. If you get in our cars out there, don't try to pull that off. There's nothing underneath it. We decided to cover our mode control switch with what we call a wrist pad. So a lot of people like touchscreen. You know, it's a pretty good way to get to a bunch of information on the car. But one of the problems on a firm riding car where you're reaching out and touching, actually getting the thing that you want is kind of difficult. So here's an example where design said, you know what, you can do the knob, all you do is touch the sides. We could actually put a stationary, leather-wrapped wrist pad. So if you reach out, you can sit your side of your wrist right on that, and there's a lot of parts of the screen that you can touch, and you have a nice stable place to put your hand. And so it's a minor touch, it looks kind of cool, but it doesn't move, it just sits there and covers that. Now we got a lot of people going, I wonder what's under here, trying to peel this thing off. So, but that's an example where design works together with all the program execution people to solve a problem that you may not realize you had. But anybody who's operated a touchscreen down the road knows it's kind of hard to get exactly where you want to touch.
I noticed, well, is the passenger able to see the screen all or use any functionality?
Yeah, so it is angled towards the driver, but with the passengers we've had in the car so far, they appreciate they can both touch the touch screen and they have access to all those controls. So any control of the HVAC, heated seats, cooler seats, whatever, they have them right there at their disposal. And so the people we've had in cars so far have actually really enjoyed it. So we'll thank you very much for the question. It's appropriate for this portion of the presentation, but we want to let Harlan talk about some more